Okay, perfect. So, good afternoon, everyone. In yesterday's class, we had looked at the meiosis process, and we had looked at different steps involving meiosis 1, meiosis 2, and what are the subphases and how is it different with respect to the mitosis process. So I will just quickly revise that particular part. One thing that I had not mentioned as far as I remember it, that the meiosis is something same like mitosis in terms of the rest of the phases of the cell. So let's say a particular cell will undergo G1, that is first growth phase, synthesis, and G2, and then depending on its fate, whether it wants to enter into mitosis or meiosis, that is the cell dependent type. If it is gamete formation, obviously it will always be meiosis. If it is a regular cell, that is somatic cell, it will undergo mitosis. So G1, S and G2, these still remains the common phases for all the cells. That means for mitosis also, priorly the cell has to prepare itself for the interphase, and same is the case with the meiosis. And then after G2, it will continue with the anaprophase 1 of the meiosis 1 as a major phase. And then it continues with this prophase, metaphase, prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, and telophase 1. At the end of telophase 1, there will be a phase of cytokinesis, either overlapping here with telophase or after the telophase. Yeah, so that process is important because it has to form two separate daughter cells, which are being shown here in continuation. And then in further continuing with the meiosis 2, it will continue with the prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, and telophase 2, and then they will follow the cytokinesis and the formation of the four daughter cell. So this one part of the cytokinesis that I had not mentioned earlier, I'm telling it to you now, and also of the interphase. So it's just that process of mitosis or meiosis is different as such, but the rest of the processes, either before the mitosis or meiosis or after these processes, they remains the still remains the same. So that was the again quick overlook at the meiosis process. I'm not going to talk about these chromosome structures and what happens to them here in addition, but that you can revise on your own again if at all you feel it is important. Then this also we had seen crossing over, and I had mentioned what exactly is this crossing over. We'll see it in like brief later. So starting with the significance of this meiosis, we had looked at the significance of mitosis, which was more in terms of growth, development, replacement, and so on. In case of mitosis, the one of the major one of the major factor which is makes it this process as a significant process is of course the gamete formation. So chromosome number is halved in gametes so that upon fertilization diploid chromosomes is restored. Now, can someone answer to the question that why, like during the meiosis, the chromosome number is getting half? Then why not in the individual, the chromosome number, like across the generation, the chromosome number gets reduced? Why does that not? Why does this not happening? Why is it not happening? What do you think?
Sir, I didn't get you.
So, like in case of meiosis, the chromosome number is reducing to half, correct? And the same chromosomes, they are being passed to the generation. It's not the mitotic chromosomes, if I can say so. They are getting passed to the next generation, but it is the meiosis chromosomes which are passing through the meiosis process, which are forming the gametes. They are getting transferred to the next generation, and so why the half number of chromosome is not getting further reduced in the next generation. So for example, let's say there are 100 chromosomes in the parent cell. It undergoes meiosis, it becomes 50. That cell again undergoes meiosis, becomes 25. That undergoes meiosis, again becomes 12.5. 12.5 is not ideal, like round figure, but again, just a hypothetical situation. So why does this reduction does not happen throughout the generation?
Sir, once it becomes 50-50, the even for example, let's say that the one cell is the sperm and one cell is the egg. So the sperm has 23 chromosomes and the egg has 23 chromosomes. They both come together, form 46 chromosomes. Again, those 46 during the time of again after meiosis, those 46 again become 23. They again get fused. So it's a repetitive process. It will never keep getting half.
Right. So that's the perfect answer. And I hope everyone else has understood why it does not get half, because that's the kind of question I get sometimes from the student, that why it does not get half. But thank you for answering, Akshay. So that is the, like, even if it is getting reduced after meiosis, during the fusion, that is fertilization process of the sperm and the ova, they again become the diploid cell, that is 23 from sperm, 23 from egg, they become 23 pairs or 46 chromosome. And those fused or fertilized cells, they undergo mitosis process for the development of the embryo to develop into a new individual. So again, it becomes 46, and then whenever that new daughter cell will develop into an adult, that will undergo mitosis. The cells will undergo meiosis for the gamete formation. There again, reduction will happen, and this process continues on and on. So that is what is the one of the important significant point of the meiosis process, that chromosome number, even though it is reduced to half in the gametes, it is always restored after fertilization. Then the causes of mixing of the genes, which occurs in two ways. So that is where we are going to talk about the crossing over part, and it is also shown in this diagram. So if you look, the blue chromosome and the red chromosome, now again I am using these terminologies for simplicity of explaining, otherwise they are never red or blue. Yeah, so they are interchanging or exchanging a part of their chromosome, and the blue chromosome gets the red part and the red chromosome gets the blue part, and that is what is also called as recombinant chromatids. Otherwise they are homologous chromosomes. And these ones, so these ones are the recombinant chromatids. This one on the middle side, and the outer side, if you look at, they are the non-recombinant, that is they are the original ones from the original parent cell. Yeah. So the why does this mixing up happens? So the maternal and paternal chromosomes, they get mixed up. Maternal from the mother side, that is from the egg or the ova. Paternal, that is from the sperm or the father side. They get mixed up during the first reduction division as they separate from the homologous chromosome pairs, right? Why this has to happen? To cause the variation within the individuals of the human species. This process of exchanging or mixing up is important. And during the separation of the maternal and paternal chromosomes, the chromatids gets exchanged between two chromosomes, two members of the homologous pairs. And this is what is exactly known as the crossing over, resulting in the genetic recombination. This is just a simple terminology where something else or the genetic material from something, some other cell is getting mixed with the original cell, and that is what is recombination or genetic recombination. So during the separation of the maternal and paternal chromosome, that is when the gamete formation happens from these chromosomes, the chromatids gets exchanged between two members of homologous pair. That is what is happening or is being shown here as the exchange material, and this process is called as crossing over. And I guess I had explained in brief how does it create the variation, but just to give you an idea again about it. So imagine the father or let's say any of the parent has this set of the chromosome, and the ultimately the daughter or the son of this pair or this an individual is resulting into this set of chromosome. Now when this will undergo the like this individual, when it will undergo the meiosis process, that will form another different type of recombination due to this crossing over process. It need not be always on this arm and at this position. It can be at different position, can be on this arm and this arm next time. And that is why, because the genes, they always keeps getting exchanged from like mother and father, and that is why the what we call the phenotype or the physical characteristics, they are getting changed throughout the generation. You will not find a father and the son or the father and the daughter, or even the mother and the daughter and mother and the son exactly copies of each other. They might have something similar in terms of features, but they are not or never exact copies of each other. The reason being crossing over. I hope this point is clear to everyone. Is there any doubt here?
Does this crossing over happen during the development of the gametes or during the fusion of the gametes?
During this stage. What is this? Meiosis, right? Meiosis happens during gamete formation. So the crossing over also happens during gamete formation process. Yeah, not during the development of the zygote. It's during the development of the gamete. That is, these gametes, they are yet to fuse with the egg or like even the sperm. Either ways, if this is the egg cell, then it has to fuse with the sperm. If it is the sperm cell, then it has to fuse with the egg cell. That way. Understood?
Sir, but the crossing over happens between the maternal and the paternal, right?
No. It happens. So again, this is the meiosis. Let's say, let's talk about the sperm itself. Yeah, we don't need to go into that much of complication. Let's make it simpler. Let's say this is the what we call it, spermatogenic cell. Yeah, spermatogenic cell is the cell which gives rise to the sperm at the end. So this is spermatogenic cell, and these are the sperms. Yeah, 4 sperms are getting formed because of this spermatogenic cell through the meiosis process. Now in that case, there is no question of involvement of the egg. So variation happens in sperm, and let's say in another situation, if this is the oogenic cell, that is the one which gives rise to the ova or the egg cell from the female, then in that case also this crossing happens. So imagine this crossover from male and crossover from female cell or gametes, they are getting merged, and the chances of having them repetitive of the same dimension in the same manner is rare, and that is why we never have 2 similar individuals. Did you get it now? Yeah,
Yes.
this is only one particular individual we are talking about, but they do happen in both the individuals separately. Then the crossing over is done, the sperms and the eggs are produced, which fuses with the each other. Okay, so that is the significance of the meiosis and also of the crossing over, and why it is so important for the variation. So again, I have not included that word here because it's not part of the syllabus, but you should know that crossing over causes the variation in the within the species. So within the species, that means we have all different faces, all different feature and so on in human itself. So that way. Then just explaining the concept of homologous chromosomes here. So it refers to one of the pair of the chromosomes with the same gene sequence, or with same, not or, and same loci, that is the location, same location, let me make it simple, same chromosomal length and same centromere location. That means, again, this can only happen if the chromosome 1 and chromosome 1 from the male and chromosome 1 from the male and female, chromosome number 1, if they are getting together, they will be called as homologous chromosome because their gene sequence will be same. Let's say a part of chromosome number 1 is responsible for your hair color, right? So it cannot get exchanged with any other thing. If it is responsible for hair color in male, the same gene from the female also should be of the same phenotypic function. That is, it should also dictate the hair color in female. It cannot have any other function. But if it is chromosome number 1 of male which is dictating hair color, it will not match with the chromosome 2 either of male or of female. I hope you are getting what I am trying to say. So chromosome number 1 of the male, and I am using only male and female and not saying male gamete and female gamete, but it actually refers to the gamete. So chromosome number 1 of the male, it will not match with the chromosome 2 of the male or chromosome 2 of the female. It has to be chromosome 1 of the female if it has to match. These are the only ones which forms the homologous chromosome pair. Yeah, I hope. And the gene sequence there, that is that ATGC sequence, whatever is the sequence, ATTGC, whatever is that particular sequence, it will remain same in chromosome number 1 of the male as well as of the female. The location, that is each of these gene has a specific location. Usually they are like how we read latitudes and longitudes, or when we share the what we call the map, like location with someone else, it gives that longitude and latitude point to whosoever we are sending. Something similar, like so and so axis and so horizontal plane and so similarly these chromosomes, they also have something similar, that is chromosome number 1, then dot, then first part, then dot, and then the exact location, then dot, and then from this base pair to this base pair. So that is how the general consensus of the chromosome. So that is what is the loci or location. Chromosomal length, that is the total number of base pair in that chromosome, and then the centromere location, that is the point of attachment of the sister chromatin. It is that all you know, and this all has to be saved in the homologous chromosome. So the homologous pair consists of one paternal and one maternal chromosome, obviously, because like I had mentioned, chromosome number whatever, that is 5 from male, that is paternal, will match with only chromosome number 5 of the female, that is maternal chromosome. In humans, we have 46 total chromosomes, and in the nucleus of the somatic cell, that is the regular body cell, and half of them, that is 22 autosomes plus X or Y chromosomes, are inherited from the father, and the rest half, that is other 22 autosomes and X chromosome, is from the mother, right? For male, I don't know if you have studied the sex determination, but we will come to what is this X and Y chromosome. If not, that is coming from the father, and that is the other X chromosome is coming from the mother. So these 22 will always match with this 22, and plus, so each maternal chromosome has a corresponding paternal chromosome. So chromosome number 1 from mother will have corresponding partner from the father, that is chromosome number 1 of the father, and they pair up during meiosis. Typically, a female will have 23 homologous chromosome in their somatic cell, whereas the male will have 22. So let's say if I talk about my male body cell, I will have 23 pairs. In that 23 pairs, I have 22 pairs of autosomes and X and Y chromosomes. X and Y, they are not the match, right? And in case of female, they have 22 pair of autosomes and a pair of X chromosome, and X will always match with X in the female. Yeah, the names have been given. The X and Y does not refer to any random variable like in maths. X chromosome is the name given to the sex chromosome of the female, or that particular number of the chromosome which is responsible for determining the sex of the individual child. And same is the case with the Y chromosome. It is not randomly given, but if it is mixing up with the in the zygote stage, that means the child which will be born, it will be a male child. So that particular sex determination part we'll see in the next chapter, that is genetics, later. But yeah, so 22 pairs of autosome, they will always have a counterpart, and X and Y chromosome in male, they will not be homologous. But so in male, we will have 22 pairs only of the homologous chromosome, while in case of female, we will have all 23 as the homologous chromosome. And the reason being because males have X and Y, while females have X and X. So XX will match, XY will not match. That's why 23 in male, 23 in female and 22 in male as a homologous pair. Have you understood this part? What is homologous and how many pairs are there in the homologous chromosome in case of male and female, and how did we calculate it? Anyone has any question here? Okay, so I assume there are no questions. And of course, the last statement says the pairing up of the homologous chromosome during meiosis is important to promote the genetic variation. Yes, Kabir?
So why can the male chromosome have either X or Y, and why does the female one have only X?
See, again, I will go back to that smart system of whenever the body was designed or body was first human body was synthesized. It had to differentiate between genders, a male and female. If it has only X or only Y, then the chances of having children will be so random. Like the example that I will give you, I will stop sharing for a minute. You will understand it in a better way, and I'll spotlight my video. Where is the spotlight? Here it is. So for example, let's say this is female and this is me. Yeah, I will write for your information so that these are the symbols that we use every time when we write male and female. So in this case, female will always have double X chromosome and male will always have XY chromosome. Now, if you are designing the children, then you can either choose, this can form gametes which has either X. See, this is haploid, sorry, this is diploid, so it will have a pair. This is haploid, so it will have only single chromosome. Same with this will form the gamete, which is either X or Y. So again, this is diploid, that is the normal cell, and these are the gametes which are haploid. Now, gametes will fuse from from female to male, either or male. So let's say if these two they combine, it will form XX. Again, diploid, fertilized female child. Yeah. If this will fuse with this, again it will be XX. Again, it will be a female child. If this fuses, one from female and one from male, or the other chromosome, other gamete from the female, it will form XY. And if this is the case, I did something wrong. No, correct. Yeah, and then this will fuse with this, it will again form XY. So the chance of having female and the male child is equal in case of the next generation. I still feel I have done something wrong. X, X, X. So this one from male, one from female, one from female, one from male. This is where I have done wrong. This should not be the case. No, it was correct. Okay, I guess if I have done something mistake, I can figure it out now. But what I want to say is the chance of having individual was only possible in this fashion because of this particular combination. If you have both X and both Y, then the chances of having only male, which will not be fertile anymore, to have that fertility, if both are Y chromosomes, they will not be fertile. Fertile in the sense they will not be able to produce the next generation. And that is why this was the only possible combination that allowed nature to take over, and that is why it exists. So that is the brief idea about this particular combination of the sex chromosome. Does that answer your question, Kabir, to some extent?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So the last point which says the pairing of the homologous chromosome during meiosis is important to promote genetic variation, and this point is actually being done here. So in prophase 1, if you remember, I had said like it pairs up with the homologous part or the homologous counterpart of that particular chromosome. So chromosome 1 will always fuse with the another chromosome 1 of the same set, that is of the diploid set, and then it will go through this particular process. So that is the, and again it leads to the genetic variation because we already discussed of that crossing over part. So this is the completion of the whole of the meiosis process. Any doubt here so far? How much time do we have? We have enough time. Okay, if there are no questions from your side, then I will ask you questions now. Okay, let me check. Whom can I ask? Are you all able to see this diagram which you see here on the screen? Okay, so let me ask Neeraj. First question. Mr. Neeraj, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anaphase.
Examine the picture of the cell. What phase is the cell in?
Anaphase.
Correct. So the cell is in anaphase, and why would you say that so?
Because the spindle fiber started pulling the centrosomes away.
Sorry, spindle fibers, they have started pulling the
Centrioles, like they split the centrioles already.
centrosomes, you said.
Centrosomes, yeah.
Do not get confused. These are individually centriole.
Centrioles.
Together it is centrosome, and this part is centromere. But then spindle fibers, they are connected to the kinetochore of which is present next to the centromere. Yeah, so remember it.
Yeah.
So these mitotic spindle fibers, they are holding on to the kinetochore and not to the centromere as such. It is holding at the centromere position. That is, the kinetochore is located there. Okay. Next question to Laksh. Mr. Laksh, Mr. Rathi, are you there? Wake up, sleepy, sloppy. I guess he is not there. Okay. Kimaya. The second question.
The centrosome.
Now look carefully. Miss,
No.
I would assume, looking at the picture, something else. Is it pointing to both of these?
No, centriole then, sorry, centriole.
Right? So again, just a small twist in the question will lead to a completely wrong answer. So if it is pointing to both of them, which is ideally the arrow should be somewhere in between these two.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, Laksh wants you to look at the chat.
Sorry.
Laksh wants you to look at the chat.
Okay, I can't. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, so when like even if there is a small twist, it can lead to completely wrong answer. So the actual answer for this is centriole. If it was pointed at both of these structure, then it would have been centrosome. And if at all it is pointed at whole of this assembly like structure, it would be an aster or mitotic spindle assembly. Yeah, so please pay attention to the smallest of the details so that you know, and also do not get confused between these three terms which I had mentioned. Next, I will ask Ratul.
Yes, sir. Chromosomes become visible in the prophase.
Yeah, that's a simple one. So during which phase the chromosome first become visible is the prophase, not even in the interphase, telophase, metaphase. These are the last phases of the mitosis. So surely that is not the answer. It is prophase. That's when the chromatin fibers, they condense, become thick and compact, and they become into X shape visible chromosome. Next one to Jita. Hello, are you there? Okay. She is also not there, I suppose. Parikshit. What is happening? Mr. Parikshit. Okay. Taru. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, the first one.
And why would you say that?
1 second, sir. So, because like two daughter cells for each parent cell undergoing goes like through mitosis.
So see, the question is a cell with 10 chromosomes undergoes mitosis. How many daughter cells are created? That is the answer. Each daughter cells has dash number of chromosomes. So you say there are 2 daughter cells, they are created, and each daughter cell has 10 chromosome, right? So the answer is first one. Yeah. So again, this is a little trickier question. Just to complicate the things, they have given these fill in the blank kind of questions with these complicated options. So, but then reading it throughout will give you the correct answer. So the first option is the correct one. Then next one, to whom should I ask? Who is there? Who is there? Who is there? Sumedh.
Spindle cell.
So what structure is responsible for moving the chromosomes during mitosis? That is the spindle structure. Correct. None of these, they are like nuclear membrane is surely gone during mitosis process. Nucleolus has also disappeared. Cytoplasm is there, but then it is no more actively taking part into the division process. It is just providing physical space. So it is spindle or spindle fibers. Then Kabir.
Sorry, sir. It starts in telophase and it ends last.
Correct. So like I had said, it can either overlap with the telophase or it can even start at the end of the telophase. So, but it is the answer for this question is telophase.
Sir,
Yeah.
if you go back to the slide where you discuss about the cytokinesis, over there it's written that cytokinesis may either begin in the telophase or the anaphase also.
Correct. So in that case, like I had mentioned, based on the cell types, that is the case. But usually it is the telophase. So whatever is the most probable answer, that is what we usually write. Here, if the answers are 2 phases together, let's say if the telophase and anaphase is one of the answer, then we would have written that as an option compared to individual ones. Yeah, it's just the probable answer for that particular question. But ideally, the statement still is true that the cytokinesis might start in like overlapping with the anaphase and telophase. But if it is just given a chance to that particular cell and the question is something like this, then we will write the answer as telophase.
Okay.
Okay, then next question to Shantanu.
Yes, sir.
Question and the answer for that question.
Yeah, so next question is cells will generally divide when? So cells don't divide after 10 hours. Become too large when they become infected.
Now this is kind of very tricky question and it has a vague answer, which is not really true answer. But again, like I said, whenever MCQ questions are given, you have to choose the most probable answer there. So which one according to you and why?
So I don't think the first one is correct because you said that the cell cycle occurs after 22 hours, almost 22 hours.
Okay, correct. That option is removed.
Yeah, so after that, remaining options are they become infected, they become too large, or they have no food. So if they don't have food, they will not divide. So that is also removed.
So that is also removed.
Now remaining only two, which are they become infected or they become too large. So I guess When they become too large, they might get divided.
Right.
And if they become infected, they may destroy themselves. So third is the correct, I guess.
Yeah, so I went through exactly same process like you had just spoke. So like spoke about. So this way we find out which is the most probable answer. In any of these rest of the cases, that is first, second, and fourth, it is not possible for the cell to divide. So only possibility that a cell can divide is when it becomes large. It doesn't matter whether cell becomes large or shrink or whatever, but that is the
Probably
correct.
most correct answer.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes.
What's the problem with the 10 hours old answer? I don't understand why they can't divide. in 10
Do the
hours.
cells generally divide when they are 10 hours old? Is that the case? They can just divide immediately,
Okay, they divide once in 24 hours, right?
They divide in a span, one cycle takes place in 24 hours. That does not mean they divide after 24 hours. The statement cells will generally divide when they are 10 hours old. That means from their birth, 10 hours is the gap, and then they start the cell division process. Is that the case?
No, they go into interphase.
Exactly. So that is why that option is not correct. Then next question to Aryan.
Sir, after metaphase, anaphase.
Yeah, a simple one, right? Which phase occurs directly after metaphase? That is PMAT, that is anaphase. Then next question, I have very few questions. I guess this should be the last ones. Who is left out? Apala. Apala, are you there?
Yes, sir, the interface.
During which phase does the DNA make a copy of itself?
Interface.
Interphase, right? If there has been specific option given, that is S phase and so on and so forth, then that answer would have been more correct, right? But here, out of these four, interphase is the correct option. Then next one to who is left? Who is left? Oh, I can't see people. Okay, again, Anusha.
Chromatids.
So each chromosome consists of two chromatids. It surely does not have any centrofibers. There is nothing as far as I know of. Chromatids is something that separates upon from the centromere. Daughter cells is not part of the chromosome, and centrioles, they are again not part of chromosome. So the only correct option is chromatids. Okay, so that's it from my side. Anyone has